What's good, y'all? Welcome back to a brand new Marvel video. This time, we're going to be talking about House of X issue 2 and why, honestly, in my personal opinion, Moira MacTaggert is honestly one of the most interesting characters in the X-Men universe after this issue. Now, I know I'm extremely late. Same thing with my Powers of X and House of X theories. Procrastinating, and I got some other stuff I had to do, of course, But, here it is. Yeah, man, this was... House of X issue 2 was quite crazy, and now you guys know, I mentioned this before, this House of X and Powers of X is really my true jumping on point X-Men. Outside of Extremis and a couple issues of Uncanny X-Force, I haven't read any X-Men comics. Like I mentioned before, my knowledge is exclusive to the movies. So, at first, I actually thought Moira MacTaggert was actually a completely original character that was John Timmons, but no, she is a mainstay X-Men universe. I think she was actually in one of the movies, actually. I think she was in First Class and Apocalypse, I think. I know, I might be wrong on that one. Anyway, so first off, we find out. Now, actually, funny. Which actually, first thing I see when I first read the issue, I was under the impression that everything after Grant Morrison's run was not canon. Like, he called it the Lost Decade. I thought that meant that it's all uncanon, it's not canon. Which apparently it still is. All the stuff that happened from after that with the Age of X-Men, or not Age, Age of X-Men, Matthew Rosenberg's run. What else? House of X, or not House of X, House of M, excuse me, Avengers vs. X-Men, all of that is indeed still canon in that current timeline, which was timeline number 3. This one, House of X, is indeed timeline number 10. Now, first off, I gotta mention, now we know from this little graphic that was in the issue that we see all of her timelines except one. That is the 6th timeline. That one is missing. What could that mean? Where could this mean? Me personally, I think now these are both 6 issues long, I believe. I wouldn't be surprised if in the final issue of House of X, that's probably when we're going to find out what was in the 6th timeline. Or maybe that's the timeline where the X-Men books after House of X and Powers of X take place, because we already know that they've already announced the books that are going to be, there's about 6 of them that are going to come out after House of X and Powers of X are done in October, or these will all come in the 10th, overall take place within the 10th timeline. So first, let's talk about Moira or Mori. I have to say, first off, her power is quite interesting. She has the ability to reincarnate. Essentially, it's not like immortality, but she can reincarnate. Where she dies, she is reborn again, and I believe she is reborn again, and then just goes through her life all over again. Now we see in her, so we have her down in her first life, before the reincarnation. She, had a fever, was fine the next day, right as rain, and died in her sleep at the age of 74. Had a bunch of kids and grandkids and other shit. Then from there on, she got reincarnated again and again and again, and we saw how her lives went on afterwards. But I gotta say, and she ended up reliving her life about 10 times. She's about on her 10th life, or maybe 11th. I have to say, my God, if you were in Mori's shoes, that would have to legitimately drive you insane. Imagine having to relive your life over and over and over again from the very beginning of your life, from birth to death. You gotta relive it all. It's like if you were playing Dark Souls or any other Souls game or any other From Software game, and you're fighting the boss, and you almost got it, and then you die. Then you have to go to your last bonfire, which is probably pretty far away, and then have to go through all that all over again. All the creatures, all the other enemies you had to face out before you then get a second chance at the bonfire. Or if this was or better yet, if it's an NES game, most of the time you have to restart the level all the way from the beginning and go from that way. That would literally drive anyone insane. It's like what happened with Dr. Stone, which you guys know is a new anime that's airing this season. With Dr. Stone, we know that people were turned to stone, and then they weren't, and then Senku and Tanjiro was his name. I think Tanjiro was his name. Was the other guy that's the other MC. They were stuck in that stone for 1,000 years. Imagine being with your own consciousness in just pretty much pitch darkness for over 1,000 years. That would legit probably drive anyone insane. It's kind of the same because imagine you have to go through, and you can't go super fast. You can't think you can just speed through this, like cheat through, no, because otherwise they'll get suspicious, and then other crazy shit happen. So you gotta go through you gotta go through your kid years, you gotta go through elementary school, middle school, high school, over and over and over again. My God, how did this woman not grow insane? But that's only the tip of the iceberg. What made me really like her and find her super interesting, what she honestly after this issue, she's honestly one of my top favorite X-Men. After this issue, she's like in my top 10, if not top 5, because of what she did in all her lives. So in the third timeline, that's pretty much we know that's the main X-Men timeline, from Stan Lee's run all the way up to Grant Morrison and everything else. That was the main X-Men timeline. That the main X-Men timeline, from all the comics that you guys have grown to love over the years. So, and then, of course, she ended up dying. Then in her fourth life was the one where well, first off, it was like, I believe this was her second life, where she was tired of having to be reincarnated all the time, I believe it was her second life. She was tired of being reincarnated all the time, so she ended up finding the cure for the X gene. The Brotherhood of Mutants found out about this, and of course we're like, because and wouldn't let her do it because even if her intentions were good at heart, she just wanted to either just use it for herself and anyone else who wanted to use it. We all know how humans are. They would have used it for their own goods to just rid mutants entirely. We know that would happen, and so. Of course, then they burned her alive to make sure she never forgets how dying like this still feels like. But then, and she also didn't really trust Charles then, as he thought he was arrogant and had like a god complex or something. Or no. Her second life was the one where she was just kind of like an overseer. She knew of Charles. She was just like whatever, and yeah, and then he came on TV and said, I am Charles Xavier and I'm a mutant. She came over and drove flight and then died. Then in her third life was when she first tried to get Charles. That's when she thought that he was just, that he thought he was like had like a god complex or whatever. So that's when she discovers finds the cure. That's when she ends up dying. Then in her third life was the one where she got to know Charles, and we had the X-Men go on. Which I actually remember when I was actually reading this, when I saw the Lost Decade, which is like I believe they're called the Phoenix 5. I remember, and you guys see this in my reaction to the issue, I was like, yo, these are some cool costumes. Where can I read these comics? Apparently these comics are shit. With this whole Phoenix 5 stuff, which, whatever. But I gotta say, I love these costume designs, the Phoenix 5. Cyclops over there with the Phoenix Force, everything. There's some hot shit. And so after that, and then in her fifth life, she was just like, fuck this noise, I'm done. Runs away when she's 13 years old, goes over to Charles before they're supposed to meet, tells him, read my mind, Charles, and ends up radicalizing him, which then leads him to just take all the mutants and to put them in their own little area, kind of like what the robots did in the Matrix series. If you guys ever dabbled into the lore of the Matrix universe, what happened with the Matrix. This was all talked about in the Animatrix. In there, they also talked about how robots ended up just making their own metropolis, own the city, and they were just far away from mutants. Humans were like, eh! But then when the robots tried to be like, hey, why don't you try to join the UN or whatever, or be recognized as their own nation, then man came over and attacked them, and then all the shit hit the fan after that. Same thing happens here. They're just out there minding their own damn business. Then those motherfucking Sentinels come in there and wreck shit like they always do. And then we get to her seventh life, which I gotta say, where she ends up just like, where she's like, fuck it, I'm done with it. Look, okay, let me try and get rid of these Sentinels. So let me eliminate the entire Trask family. Which I gotta say, I love her costume here, where she's like a sniper and everything. I love her outfit, man. It looks so cool. So she eliminates all the threats, and then we get like what some people commented like what happened in the Terminator movie, which I don't like this, because I fucking despise what Terminator 3 did to Terminator. I hate the whole thing like Judgment Day is inevitable bullshit. No, they prevented Judgment Day in Terminator 2, and that's it. I honestly, I won't lie. Terminator 3 isn't a bad movie, but I hate that it was just that they did this whole story like, oh, you can't prevent Judgment Day, which in turn makes the first two movies fucking pointless, because, you know, if Sarah, you know, this is, I hate that, man. I hate that. But I gotta say, I like this new design they have for the Sentinel when she actually finds out that they still occurred. It's a lot more, it doesn't look as nowhere near as clean as the original Sentinels do. It definitely looks a little bit more makeshift, I guess. So then we get over to her 8th life. She's like, fuck Charles! He ain't helping me! So let me go to Magneto! So she goes over to Magneto, tells him everything, and then he tries to take her down, and, you know, he fails once again. She dies, and then she's like, fuck it! Magneto won't work, Charles and us, let me have fucking apocalypse for hell! Survival of the fittest, boys! That happens, she fails again! And at this point, she's just like, fuck me, what do I gotta do? And then she's like, alright, I'm gonna go back to Charles. And that's pretty much where the issue ends. Moira is such an interesting character, man. With all the different timelines she had to go through, everything she did in her life, it's so interesting, and I'm really curious what this is all going to be. Because remember, we know with the 10 issue, with the 6 series that we know that's coming, we know that Rogue and Gambit and Excalibur, they're rocking their 90s outfits again. This is one about. I thought this was definitely going to be that. Now before I thought this was like, oh yeah, because Grant Morrison's run and all that stuff is not canon, they would probably go back to their costume, to their original 90s costume, because I think Grant Morrison's was like, what, early 2000s? A little bit after the 90s stuff? Maybe a little later? But knowing that, of course, all that stuff is still canon, and we have this 10th timeline, it makes me question on what could happen, on why. Because remember, we still don't really know what's still going on with Charles in the first issue, as well as what's going on in Powers of X issue 1 with that mech suit he's rocking. What could all this mean? Where could all this lead? That's the question. I think now, we know the whole story of House of X is taking place in the 10th timeline. We know this. Which makes me wonder on where this all could lead. Where we have Charles, maybe something happened in, maybe something happened in the 6th timeline that maybe some stuff happened in the 6th timeline, and that's what's happening here. Maybe the 10th timeline takes place maybe after Grant Morrison's run, and that's why Rogue's back and Rogue again are back in their 9th costumes. Because I'm still kind of wondering on why they're indeed back in their 9th outfits. I mean, I'm sure they could have done just for nostalgia and just be like, just for the familiarity of, hey, there's Rogue and Gambit back in their 90s outfits, you know, for extra sales. They could have done that, but I feel like knowing Jonathan Hickman, what he's doing so far, he ain't going to do something like that. There's a meaning behind that. At least I would think so, anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised by the end of this, either in House or Power, we are going to learn what the hell's happening with Charles, what the hell's going on, because there has to be something going on here that's connecting. That's why Charles is acting the way he is right now, and what is going on, and what he has done, and what's going to happen on with Cyclops and the other guys in the first issue of House of X. Because this whole issue was also opening just for Moira. Now, I believe next week, or tomorrow actually, because I'm filming this on Tuesday, or recording this on Tuesday, Powers of X issue 2 is, I believe, what is comes out next week. I could be wrong on that. Let me check. Yeah, Powers of X issue 2 is tomorrow. So, who knows what extra information we can learn that one. I'm not sure, but I am definitely intrigued with where this story because I gotta mention before, Moira, I have to say, is such an interesting character with all the interesting timeline she went through, everything she did. She is essentially the Sarah Connor of the X-Men universe out here, man. She's just such an interesting character because it's essentially Groundhog's Day on crack almost. Because instead of having to just relive or like Happy Death Day or Groundhog's Day, instead of having to relive one day, she has to relive her entire life, and she tries to learn from each one of her mistakes. But but the same thing happens. The war between man and between humans and mutants still occurs. The Sentinels still keep happening. It's just such an interesting it's such interesting, and I know My Hero Academia is gonna in season 4 is gonna introduce a character that's a kind of a similar quirk to her, not reincarnation, but has to deal with seeing into the future, which I'm definitely curious because I might end up doing a video on that one and also talk about Moira or Mori in that one as well, because I gotta say, I'm interested in that character in Hero One's been introduced in Hero Season 4, but I'm definitely interested in Moira. Like, she is such a... I hope we do see more of her in House of X later in, like, this, in House of X or Power thing. I hope we see more of her because, my God, she's such an interesting... she's such an interesting character after reading this issue. I want to see more of her. So hopefully we do see more of her because I'm hooked. I want to see more of her. With her being immune and all the reincarnation, I hope we do see more of where this is all lead. I hope so, anyway. So yeah, guys, tell me down below what you thought of issue 2 of House of X. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What are your theories? Do you have your theories? Do you have new theories after this issue? What do you think of Moira MacTaggert? Do you love her? Do you hate her? Do you think she's a very interesting character like I do? Do you think she's boring? Tell me all that down below, guys, because I would love to talk to you guys and theorize with y'all about House of X going on. Because Jonathan Hickman's one crazy motherfucker out here doing the crazy shit he's been doing, and I'm loving every second of it. And I can't wait to see where all this is gonna lead, guys. Anyway, so I'm ending here, ladies and gentlemen. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter for links down in the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.
She's